Does, D-U-Z, Does, brings you the Goldbergs.
You? Is anybody?
There's Molly, folks. That means your friends the Goldbergs are here. Brought to you by Does, the new kind of soap that does everything best. They talk about the wonders of radio. Yet here I stand telling you Does everything best, and maybe you're not even home. Not even hearing me tell about the tests we made. Why, we tested 25 different wash day soaps, leading soaps of every kind. Very likely the soap you use all the time. We tested them for whitest washes, most suds for cleaning, along with greatest safety to colors, and only Does scored highest on all three. What I'd like to do is walk right into your living room with news like that. Yes, sir, I'd like to drop in on you, Mrs. Johnson, in Detroit, like this. I'd say, Mrs. Johnson, you've got a tough wartime wash to do, haven't you?
I'll say I have.
Do you want to get those greasy overalls clean easy without hard scrubbing?
Are you kidding?
No, ma'am. Just use Does, because in tests for getting grimy work clothes clean in the least time with the least work, Does scored tops.
Well.
Then I'd fly out to Baltimore. And I'd say to you, Mrs. Dunn, do you know how white Does can get your towels?
I've never tried Does.
Well, Does gets linens whiter than soap after soap we tested. None of them can do all Does does and still match it for whiteness.
Why hasn't somebody told me that before?
Then I'd zoom out to Denver. And I'd say to you, Mrs. Thomas, well, I see there are lots of pretty colored undies on your wash line.
I've got 3 daughters.
Well, do you know we proved Does is safer for nice colors? Does leaves them brighter.
Honestly?
Oh, it'd be swell if I could really tell you in person how wonderful these tests show Does to be. Compared to Does, some soaps were inferior on whiteness, others on suds and safety. Only Does had a perfect score. Yes, for whitest washes, most suds for cleaning, and greatest safety for colors combined, this new kind of soap tested best. You remember that on wash day. Does everything best. And now, Does invite you to visit the Goldbergs. They say that very often appearances are deceptive. Well, certainly this was borne out in Mrs. Mayer's case concerning Sammy. For on the train yesterday, Sammy and Dora Mayer were worrying about Mrs. Mayer's reaction when she found they had a marriage license with them. When their train was one stop from Lassenbury, to their amazement, Mrs. Mayer appeared unexpectedly, striding down the aisle toward them. For a moment, Sammy was sure the day of reckoning had come. For up to that point, Mrs. Mayer had been violently opposed to Sammy as a son-in-law. Imagine how stunned Sammy was when Mrs. Mayer gave him her blessing and called him son. Of course, Sammy didn't know about the reconciliation that had taken place between Molly and Mrs. Mayer while he and Dora were in New York. But now that he knows it, well, can you blame the Goldbergs for feeling the way they do? Listen.
Go away, Kitty. Go away. Go away, Kitty, please. I don't want to be cross with you because I'm too happy. I'm too tremendously and I'm too enormously, I'm too gorgeously happy, please. Amor, amor, I love you so. How I love you. Amor, amor.
Another word with meaning so clear.
Meaning so clear.
My lips try to whisper
Whisper sweet things to you. Somehow, what are you looking for, Rosalie? So tell Mama about it.
Sammy wants a cigarette.
So the cigarettes are standing over there now.
Oh, I see.
So I know. Amour, amour, the blessings that you gave me. I know trying for you. Nights are lonely. Who are you calling so in the AM?
Sammy wants to talk to Dora.
Oh, but he spoke to her already.
Don't be jealous, Mom.
Rosalie, I'm jealous.
Hello, operator. I want the Mayors, please.
The Mayors,
yes,
please.
Songbird Hill. I'm trying to get Dora for you, Sammy.
Rosie's trying to get Dora for you, Sammy.
Hello? Oh, thank you.
Amour. Well?
The line's busy, Sammy.
Who are they talking to so early in the morning?
What does Sammy say? Who they're
Who are they
talking to so
talking
early in
to
the
so
morning?
early?
We'll keep trying, Sammy.
Ma,
Yeah. Take some oranges to squeeze, yeah?
you happy, Ma?
Too tremendously
Were you
happy.
as happy as this on the day before your own wedding?
No. No, I wasn't.
Huh?
Wasn't, Rosalie. Look, I wasn't. I wasn't, Mankin, because then I didn't know. Now I know the happiness marriage can give to people. See, then I didn't. Now I know what a life together can mean. Then I didn't, Rosalie. Now I know that without a life together between two people who love each other, the world is an empty place. And besides, Sam's marrying the girl I love.
You love Dora more than you love me?
Mm-hmm. Much.
You don't.
Don't you know the more you love, the more love you have, huh? You think you can only love one person at a time? And if that was true, Rosalie, then I could say that Sammy has no love left for me or Papa or you because he loves Dora so much.
There were all kinds of love, Ma.
That's right. Oh, Sammy should only make the most of his love.
Don't start giving him advice, Ma.
I'll give advice, Rosalie. I'm an advice giver, huh? Answer, Rosalie.
I am, Ma.
Telephone!
Hello?
Amor.
Oh, thank you.
Amor.
The line's still busy, Sammy.
Thanks. Tell her to keep trying.
She will. Ma, I never saw Sammy acting like this.
Why not? How often are people blessed with getting the things they want? It's like finding a treasure. Love between two people, Rosalie, is a very precious thing. A very precious thing. The world and its troubles are nothing, because that's all changing things like the wind. Two people, Rosalie. People in pairs, holding fast to each other with their love. That's what's permanent. That's where the foundation starts. That's where the whole good of the world can come from, Rosalie. Not philosophy and not words. Two people, mein Kind. Telephone. Answer, Rosalie.
I am, Ma. Hello?
Rosie?
Hello, Dora. How are you?
Let me
Wonderful,
talk.
thank
That's
Let
good,
me
Dora.
talk.
Just a minute. Just a minute, Dora.
Let me
Here,
talk.
Ma.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Dora, darling?
Yes.
That's me.
Hello, Mrs. Goldberg.
How do you feel, darling?
Oh, marvelous.
How's Mama?
She's fine.
And Papa?
Wonderful, too.
Yeah? Dora, darling, you're going to let me see the wedding dress first?
Well, if you'd like to.
Yeah, it's white or it's ivory?
It's ivory.
Yeah? Hold, Mama, you hold my darling. Hold
All
my
right.
sweetheart, my angel. Wait, darling.
Sammy!
It's Dora, Sammy.
Oh, wait.
Here, darling. Here.
Thanks. Hello.
Hello, darling. Your line was busy.
I was trying to get you.
Oh, and I was trying to get you.
Anything wrong?
No. Was there anything special you wanted to say to me?
Yes. Something very special.
What?
I love you.
And I love you.
Say that again, Mrs. Goldberg.
What's Emily?
You're not the only Mrs. Goldberg, Mrs. Goldberg.
Oh.
What did you say, Sammy?
I was just telling my mother she isn't the only Mrs. Goldberg.
Oh, she won't like that.
She loves it.
So do I. Goodbye.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, I have a million things to do.
And I have a million things to say to you.
Well, you'll have a million years to say them in.
Do you mind if I start right in?
No.
I love you.
And I love you. Now, goodbye.
Now, wait a minute.
I haven't the time. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Gee, Ma, was it like this for you, too?
Yes.
Will it always be like this?
No.
What do you mean?
I mean, Emily, when two people decide to live together for better or worse, the better and the worse teaches them that their love shines just as bright in what they do, in their life together. I mean, Sammy, you'll stop saying, I love you. Do you love me? You won't have to. You'll know without saying, without asking. You'll know by a look, by a glance, by a tear, by a laugh. You'll know it without words, mein Kind. What are you looking at me like that, Sam?
Because I want to remember your face the way it is now.
Let me look at your face. Oh, have I a picture gallery of you, Sammy, in my heart. When you were born, a little round red nothing. Only after 6 months did you begin to have a face. And then a face with a tooth.
And now what do you see?
I see questions.
What kind of questions, Ma?
All kinds. But mostly one question, Sammy. The one question everybody asks of life. Will I be happy?
Will I, Ma?
That family needs a whole life, a finished life to answer.
Ma, you're giving advice.
Do you think I'm giving you advice, Sammy?
Yes. But tell me more, Ma.
More? The more will come from living. I hope it'll be a good life, Sammy. Full of everything you want. And more than that, Sammy. Everything I want for you.
Mom. Mama, darling.
Well, it's not the first time Molly has known tears and happiness in the same breath. Certainly it's the first time Sammy has known such joy. And while Sammy sees only the immediate present and the promising future, Molly can see the past as well. And it's because she sees them all, past, present, and future for Sammy, that she weeps. But Molly ought to save some tears. After all, there's still a wedding to come. It's always a pleasure to bring people good news. That's why I'm glad to tell you ladies about Does. That when we tested Does against 25 different wash day soaps, we proved Does does everything best in the wash.
You didn't prove anything about dishwashing, did you? That's what I'm interested in.
We certainly did. In the dishpan, too, Does does everything best. We found only Does gives you this unbeatable combination. Suds that stand up till the last dish is done, fastest suds for cutting grease, along with greatest kindness to your hands. Why, none of those 25 soaps could match all Does does for dishes.
Wonder if you tested the soap I've been using.
We probably did. And listen, compared with soap after soap tested, Does gives more suds faster. Suds that last so you don't have to keep adding soap. Does gets going on tough grease quicker, too. No hard scouring. Yet when we tested for greatest kindness to hands, do you know Does scored tops again?
Some soap that does.
You said it. Does leaves your hands beautifully smooth. You see, in the dishpan, too, Does does everything best. Be sure to listen to the next episode of The Goldbergs, written for you by Gertrude Berg and brought to you by DUZ, Does. Weddings mean guests, and guests mean a crowded house. But just how crowded, Molly will find out sooner than she thought. This is Clayton Collier saying good day for the makers of Does, the soap that does everything best. Save used fat. It's still needed to make nylon parachutes, ammunition, synthetic rubber. Save every drop of used fat.